そうか OK、皆様こんばんは、野崎です、第10回特許知財よもやま話、数えてもう10回になりましたが、特許知財よもやま話、本日はですね、ゲストお二人招いてですね、始めたいと思います。今ちょっと隣にいるのが、マット・ルビー、私の、会社のランドン IP の会社のアメリカのオフィスから、来ています。でもう一人日本の東京のオフィスの方で、勤務しているサムエル・デイビス、サムですね、サムもいるんですけども、ちょっと今サムが夕食の後片付けをしていますので、後で、ジョインをしてもらいたいと思います。ちょっとですね、まだなんか今日あれかな、見てる人がいないかもしれない。Nobody watch this Ustream live broadcasting? ないな。
No one right now.
ない。
Okay.
ただまあちょっと、始めてしまいましたんで、このままちょっとちょっとスタートして、録画してですね、後でちょっとお楽しみいただければなというふうに思います。そうしましたら今日はですね、隣にいるマット・ルビーはですね、完全に日本語は喋れず英語のみの英語のみ話しますので、今日のユーストリーム配信は基本的に英語を、中心で、お届けの方をしたいというふうに思っております。そうしましたらまずですね、マット・ルビーの方からちょっと、自己紹介の方を、してもらいたいと思います。So Matt, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Konbawa. Hajimemashite. My name is Matt Luby. I am from the United States. My background is mechanical engineering, working at the United States Patent and Trademark Office for 8 years, and then running the patent analysis group of my company for the last 6 years.
Anything else?
That's about it.
そんな感じで彼はですね、ランドン IP の、IPAG、IP アナリティクスグループ、日本語で言うと、知財分析グループ、というところの、ディレクターを今、やっております。で、今回は営業等を兼ねてですね、日本の方に来日をしているというところです。How about everything last week, the customer visit?
I had a great time visiting some of my customers here in Japan. I really love the way that Japanese companies connect research and development objectives to studying their patents. It's a little bit different than the United States, but not as different as you think. And I truly enjoy Tokyo. It's a huge, great city with lots of wonderful food and people. I love coming here to visit.
And so, how many times do you come to Japan?
This is my second time. So the last time I came to Tokyo was at the end of 2011. I stayed in the neighborhood of Akasaka in Minato-ku.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is my second time. I hope I'll be back again in, I don't know, another 9 to 12 months.
And so, I'm afraid that the audience doesn't understand the detail of your group services, and please show them and the overview of your group services and patent analysis services.
Sure. So my job is to help lead the projects that our customers would like in order to connect high-level, usually executive-driven business objectives by using Chizai data as the input for a typical business study. So we may work on things like SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats type of study with patent information as the input, including some other forms of information such as non-patent scientific literature or news information, market data, anything we can use to tell a story about the meaning of our customers' competitors, the trends that are happening, and how it might impact our client. One of the most common forms of studies is called a patent landscape.
そうですね。パテントランドスケープというのはちょっと補足をするとですね、日本ですとパテントマップっていう言い方が結構一般的なんですけども、アメリカの方ですとパテントランドスケープと、ランドスケープですね。トムソンが出したのはテーマスケープっていうのがありますけども、パテントランドスケープっていうのが、アメリカでは、日本でいうパテントマップがアメリカではパテントランドスケープと、いうところが結構一般的な、ところがあります。で、あれですね、ちょっとせっかく今日マットルビーアメリカから来てるので、ちょっとアメリカの状況とかもそうですし、あとアメリカの特に日本のお客様の違いであるとか、そういったところを中心にちょっと話を進めていきたいかなと、思うんですけども。Hi Ruby, and I'd like to ask you about the, how do I say, the customers and the differences between the Japanese customers and the US customers and for patent analysis.
I think the differences are probably best reflected and driven by the nature of litigation in the two countries. This is the number one difference. In Japan, I understand that patent litigation is not so common. And in fact, most companies do a lot more cross-licensing so that they can prevent court cost. But in the US, companies don't have a problem going to court if they feel that they've already carefully studied their competitors' positions, and especially if the market value is large enough potential that there could be a very good reason for going to court. For example, to completely prevent your competitor from acting, to punish them for copying your products, to extract value so that you can stay further ahead of your competitors. And the US court system tends to be busy, but I think that certain jurisdictions, for example, the Eastern District of Texas or Virginia, happen to have pretty fast turnaround times for the case to move completely through trial.
But I think so now is the market in the world is growing to world globally, and here in Japan, automotive industry and pharmaceutical industry and the chemical industry try to penetrate the
Right.
non-Japanese market, including a U.S. market, a European market, and Chinese market, Indian market. And so I think so Japanese market, Japanese companies will be involved in such litigation cases. And let us know your forecast and how Japanese customers should act in the future, in the near future.
I think that's a good point. I do think that there are certain industries that will, and it's probably a good idea to remain litigation free. For example, complicated products like an automobile or a PC, be that a laptop, a tablet, so on and so forth. You kind of take the model of Intel that decided, we can't patent everything that goes into a final product. And they will develop a more comprehensive type of licensing program. But I believe that other industries, for example, pharmaceuticals, where the investment by a single company may be huge, hundreds of millions or maybe even above the $1 billion mark to develop an extremely complicated product yourself that takes a lot of research and development initiative, is a good candidate technology to litigate by foreign companies in the United States. Japanese, Chinese, and so on and so forth. So I believe a Japanese company should be willing to protect their research and development investments when they have done enough homework using some search techniques such as freedom to operate or validity searching as a way to go and extract value. But I first think you should try the licensing route because it's going to be less costly to get a reasonable license than going to court, since you may eventually have to pay a lot of money in court fees.
Thank you so much. And so, Ruby の方にですね、ちょっと質問を続けていきたいと思うんですけど、ここでサムがですね、お皿の片付けが終わってジョインしましたので、 どうする？日本語でやる？それとも英語でやる？
どっちでもいい。
じゃあ日本語のいいかな。
日本の方がいいかな。
チャイ語でもいいけど。
ああ、きついな。
じゃあじゃあ日本語でまあとりあえずここにカメラにこちらに向かって。
Do you want to
どう
turn
やっ
the
て？
camera?
ここ
みんななんか
いるとこ
俺方ないかな。
こっちが
入れるかな。
僕は映んなくてもいいんで今
そうなんです。
日。そうゲスト中心ですから。一応マイクこちらにあるんで、なるべくこっちに喋る。So here's my so you should try to talk to this mic. But the face is here. どうぞ。うちの東京オフィスで勤務する営業責任者のサムです。
なんかいいよ。
そう自己紹介を。もう映ってるよ。
映ってるの。どうも、はじめまして、サムです。よろしくお願いします。
終わり？
以上。
終わり？もう今日はちょっとですね、残念ながらですね、今なんかライブで見てる人ちょっと0人っぽくて。
ですよね。
だからちょっとですね、ただ録画しといて、後でアップロードはするので、
先の編集していただけますでしょうかね。
編集はちょっとね、僕の力量って難しいので、取りっぱなしなんですね。
わかりました。
で一応ちょっと聞いてたかもしれないですけど、マットルビーに話してもらって、分析グループのちょっと概要であるとか、日本のお客様とアメリカのお客様の分析とかに対する違いであるとか、いうところを中心に話してもらって、なんかサムの方から営業を担当してる、立場として、なんか日本とアメリカの大きな違いとかって日本に来てからなんかどういうところが大きな違いかって感じるところありますか？いろいろあると思いますけど。
そうですね。
今日真面目だね。いつも真面目。
特にない。いや、じゃあまあそうですね。違いというか会社それぞれいろいろ違うっていうのは置いといて、日本の企業は非常にデータを収集して見たりするのが得意なように思われます。
それはアメリカの会社と比べて。
ただしそこでアクションまではいかない場合が多いのではないかというふうにも感じてはいますね。
じゃあアメリカの会社はデータをそこまで集めないんだけどアクションには移るんだけど、日本の会社はデータ集めるんだけどちょっとアクションまでに移ってないんじゃないかというふうに。
そうですね。ちょっとなんていうかな、宿題せずに行動なんか動いちゃうみたいなのがアメリカっぽいかなとは思うんですけどね。
なんかそのアメリカの会社と日本の会社で特に特許とか知的財産を抜きにしたときになんかそのどういうところが大きな会社の組織として違いみたいなのを感じることありますか？特に知財とは別、知財を抜きにして
一般的に
い
やそれは難しいですね。
業種にもよると思うんですけど、
そうですね。結構いろいろなんでしょうかね。一番感じるのは、リスクに対する見方は違うように思いますね。
そのちょっと例示でアメリカの会社のリスクに対する考えだと、そのサムがこの今日本で営業活動を通して感じる日本のお客様のリスクに対する考え方の簡単にちょっとご紹介いただけますか？
そうね。日本の企業はリスクをなるべくゼロにしましょうっていう基本的なスタンスで、その前提で非常に効率よく動いてるかもしれないんですけど、アメリカの場合はまず何でしょうかね、何をしたいかを見てこういろいろ戦略を考えた上で、じゃあどこまでのリスクでこれ行動すればいいかっていうのを決めるのが普通かなと思われます。そこでいろいろ間違ったりとか失敗したりすることもあるかもしれないんですけど、そんなにまだ情報がはっきりしてないままで何かこう結論出してるとか何かの行動につながるのが、アメリカの、やり方かな。それいい面も悪い面あると思いますので、特にどっちかにした方がいいっていうことではなく、ただただそこが大きく違うなというふうに思われます。
なるほど。そしたらじゃあ同じちょっと質問マットルビーの方にもちょっとしてみたいと思います。今I'm asking about from a general perspective about the Japanese company's stance for risk and the US company for risks, and some of the answer is Japan US company.
言わないね。 私の答えわからない。
そうか。
面白い
サムの答えが分かんないということで、ルビーの方から一般的なそのリスクに対する考え方をちょっと聞いてみたいです。Could you let us know that your thought about the company's stance between the U.S. companies and the Japanese companies and for risks?
I think Japanese companies are very averse to risk, so they do a lot of studying up front, what we call freedom to operate studies. They are truly worried about the lack of ability to introduce their products and services into the marketplace, especially those products and services that they have spent an enormous amount of research and development budget on. In the U.S., I think that companies may file a patent even when they have an initial early thought first before deciding whether they want to perform a freedom to operate study. So I think I think that both companies have worries, but I think they go about addressing those worries in different ways. In Japan, it's kind of a process of the research and development department or division speaking to an IP management team. And in the US, I think that the difference is the process is typically guided by a legal prosecution team, patent attorneys that may not have worked as a technologist in the company before, setting forth kind of a legal framework for protecting patents by filing first, and then maybe not being worried about freedom to operate until first they have their own patents. But from what I've seen, freedom to operate and the right to continue to practice ideas is typically the first step that is addressed by a Japanese company. And in the US, it seems like the first step is usually, can we get a patent? Maybe even before a full product has actually been developed.
And do you have your inside or Ruby's comments?
何語で
英語で。
Yeah, I would agree. I think so too. I agree with that, especially noting that U.S. companies, I think, tend to have a more legal perspective on their patent portfolio, and Japanese companies to me seem to come from more of an R&D or a technology perspective. So I think there's actually a lot that we could learn from each other in that regard. I think there are definitely some best practices in Japan that don't get shared with much of the rest of the world, and vice versa. The often aggressive stance of U.S. companies probably has some useful information the Japanese companies could benefit from as well.
今ちょっとお二方から日本とですねアメリカの会社の違いところに聞いたんですけど、ちょっとですね坂上さんありがとうございます。日本の企業は知財リスクをゼロにしようとするが、米国企業は、戦略を考えた上でどこまでのリスクがあるかを考えて行動するという指摘がとても興味深い、そういうコメントをミスター坂上からいただいてます。Mr. Sakoi is my former colleague at a big corporation, and he's working as an IP department at a Japanese electronics company. And so, あとお二方ちょっとアメリカ人なんでちょっとヨーロッパの事情を聞くのは酷なのかもしれないですけど、ちょっとなんか知ってる範囲で聞いてみたいと思います。Hey guys, so do you have any insight about the European companies stance for risks? And that's similar to the Japanese company or similar to the US companies?
Yes.
Good. Because I have one insight, which is that you should always be careful grouping all European countries
Yeah, exactly.
into the word European
Yes,
countries.
exactly.
That's my only insight.
Okay. Do you have any thought?
Yes, I think just as Sam said, it could be a problem to associate corporate strategy of one European country with another. And I think it's also true that associating corporate strategy of one company with another company could be a big mistake. I know some of our clients in Europe have very well managed IP programs that are just as good as any company in Japan or the US or anywhere else. But I know other companies that have developed large portfolios and don't necessarily understand what are in those portfolios. They may have had at one time a good portfolio management program but lost track of what's been in that portfolio, and now they're faced with paying large maintenance fees. Or they may have been acquired by one company and then sold to another company, and it's not clear what sort of assets stayed with their organization through the transfer from parent company A to parent company B to whatever their current situation might be. So it's the work that we see in Europe is very different depending upon the type of management process that they have set up for their IP. And I think the lesson for all of us is that we need to continue to let our management know that it's extremely important to manage IP as an asset of the company, and that significant resources must be devoted to making sure the IP is working for us in as much of an extent as possible.
Okay, please.
I did have one thought, which is, again, I really don't know what European attitudes towards risk are, but one place you could probably look to get a sense of that might be investment behavior. And my general impression is that European companies are not as risk averse as Japanese, but not as aggressive as American companies. But I'm not sure if that's true. I haven't had enough interaction to really say.
Well, I think they're also they also have a unique perspective in that there is a kind of a centralized aspect of protecting IP in Europe, namely the European Patent and Trademark Office, which encourages widespread protection of an idea in Europe, if not, outright subsidizing some of the politics of IP in that region.
Yeah, I think that's a really insightful comment, actually.
I agree with you, though, that following an investment behavior is some type of information you should track for your competitors in another country.
すみません、今3人見ていただいたことがありました。リアルタイム。
よかったですね。
ちょっと今日ね、ここにいつもねここに3人出てるんですけど、and now the three people watching this live stream.
Welcome. We're glad to have
どうもありがとうございます。
Thank you for joining.
ちょっと今日すみません、ちょっと今日ですね、いつも何人見てるかってインディケーターが出るんですけど、ちょっと今日分かんなかったんで、3人とも誰もオーディエンスがいない状態で喋ってるのかと不安になってたんですけど、坂部さん含めて3人見ていただいてありがとうございます。なんかコメントあればぜひとも書いていただければと思います。あとそうですね、なんか今せっかくヨーロッパの国ってちょっとサムからも指摘あった通り、ヨーロッパの国っていうふうにちょっと限定なんかこうくくるっていうのはなかなかちょっと難しいと思うんですけど、ヨーロッパのいくつかの会社っていうんですか、ドイツだったりとかいろいろあると思うんですけども、そういうなんていうんでしょうか、パテントポートフォリオのマネジメントがうまくやってるとかっていう話があったと思ったので、マット・ルビーの方にですね、なんかそういういい 実際のですね、要は実際の会社の分析の案件のプロジェクトの事例ではなくて、一般的な事例としてなんかこう知ってる範囲のことでですね、こういうマネジメントのスタイルがいいとかって、IBM もそうなんですけども、IBM もよくいろんな文献とかでいいポートフォリオのマネジメントしてとかって言いますけども、そういうところをちょっと尋ねてみたいかなと思います。で今、you mentioned that so some companies manage their IP portfolio very well, and if possible, please let us know the example and which companies and is very good management of the IP portfolio, and in US or in Germany or Switzerland or something like that.
Yeah, I tend to see. That's great, Sam. I tend to see the company that manages their IP well, usually coming from kind of a government-sponsored background. Maybe they were formerly like a nationalized, government-backed company. And there are a lot of these in Germany. The Germans, I think, do a very good job at understanding that protecting intangible assets is crucial to the future well-being of their company. And they have some world-class science going on. Certainly my background, which was I first started working in the packaging areas of technology in US classes 53 and 493 a long time ago, the mid to late 90s. And some of the most heavy patenting filers were from German companies that had precision manufacturing, precision sort of warehouse style packaging facilities. And these tend to be the types of European companies that have really well managed IP. They look very carefully at how they spend their money, and they only spend it on those inventions that are truly protecting something that either allows them to operate or prevents their competitor from doing something. What we would call strategic type of patents. Those patents that may fulfill a purpose besides just protecting an idea that we have.
わかります。
Just in general about patent strategy, I think there are some excellent examples out there of companies excelling at certain aspects of patent strategy. But I also get the feeling that this is one of the largest opportunities for creating more value within a company. I get the sense that patent strategy is a very young and a growing field